So, good evening, everyone, and here we are back with our VELUX EHF Champions League Hangouts. It is knockout time in the VELUX EHF Champions League. We're just about a couple of days ahead of the last 16. Well, enough reason is that to talk about the upcoming matches. I welcome our illustrious panel for tonight. First of all, EHF TV commentator Tom O'Brien. Hi, Tom.
Good to see you, Thomas, boys.
Good to see you. Our French correspondent, Kevin Domas. Hi, Kevin.
Good evening, everyone.
From Germany, Björn Pazen.
Hello.
And from Hungary, Bence.
Hello, everybody.
Good to see you guys. Good to see you. Well, a lot has happened since the draw, but let's go back to that last 16 draw a few days ago. Tom, you were there. Who do you think was the most frightened, so to say, when he saw the draw, and who might have done a little secret fist pump because of the team he plays against?
I think Barcelona was fist pumping all the way back to the Palau Blaugrana. I think that they're absolutely delighted. I would say that the most worried was Flensburg.
No. Björn, you were there as well. Did you see any sweat pearls on any club manager's forehead as well, or any like silent cheers?
The only thing that happened is, as usual, that Bruno Martini, the manager of Paris Saint-Germain, came to me and said, "Sit close. Always when you sit close to me, the draw is not that bad." And I was sitting only about 2 meters away from him, and the only thing he said, "I want to avoid Rhein-Neckar Löwen, and anything else is I don't care about it." So he avoided Rhein-Neckar Löwen, and the manager of Flensburg, Dirk Schmechke, was quite obvious before the draw. They said, "Okay, I believe that we might get Kiel." And they got Kiel. So in the end, West Brom did not want to play against Flensburg. Nobody wanted to play against Flensburg. Now it's a task of Kiel.
Björn, did you just say I don't care about it? Sorry, bad pun, but
Thomas, you're getting good at this.
Kevin, I just read your article on the upcoming derby, and Paris and Bruno Martini himself, he didn't seem all that relaxed, to be quite honest.
No, definitely not. I think Dunkirk was probably the worst draw they could get, because teams know each other. They've been in the French league for years now, and Dunkirk has been doing quite great against Paris in the last couple of years. They've won 3 times against PSG, and I think Dunkirk were probably very happy to draw PSG as well, because that's quite a team they do good against. And of course, on the paper, they're not as strong as Rhein-Neckar Löwen or even as Wisła Plock. But Dunkirk are a very, very hard team to play against. They won against Kielce last season. They didn't do bad against THW Kiel as well, so they're very hard to beat. And I don't think PSG should be too happy about playing against Dunkirk.
Sorry, we're so experienced with this hangout, so I actually forgot to welcome all the fans following us. Of course, bring us in your questions. Use the Q&A tool on the Google Plus page, or tweet us at HFCL, and we will ask our experts as soon as your questions come in. Bence in Hungary. West Brom goes to Spain, facing La Rioja. Zagreb will, go to Germany, facing Rhein-Neckar Löwen. What was the reaction coming from these two teams?
Well, as Björn said it, West Brom really wanted to avoid Flensburg, and they did, so they were happy. They said that this, it's not a problem if any of the other teams that they didn't really want to play against. Well, it's a different story for Szeged. They would really wanted to avoid Rhein-Neckar Löwen, who are one of the strongest of the third place teams. So they're not very happy, and I read a couple of comments from the team, and they were saying that they have to give their all and so on, the usual things that they say. But, lately they haven't been very good. I mean, pick Szeged, they haven't been very good lately, so they are a little worried, I must say.
Well, okay, let's go into these matches in a bit more detail. Maybe Björn, starting with that German derby, Flensburg against Kiel. It's the rematch of the final. It's Weinhold's return to Flensburg in the Champions League. How do you see that? Who's got the upper hand?
Yes, in the end, everybody expects Kiel to be the favorite because you know, Flensburg has a lot of injury problems. Like Klandorf is out, Jakobsson was out. Some other players are more or less injured, and as you see in the last matches, the assistant coach Mike Machula and even coach Lubomir Franjes were sitting on the bench in shorts and their shirt, and they were to be nominated for the player list. So the number of players Flensburg currently has is quite low. So it became a little bit better because Johan Jakobsson is back, and they have this Egyptian player now for the right back position. But in general, everybody expects Kiel to be the favorite. But when you see in the last years, Kiel did not win in Flensburg. So everybody says if Flensburg takes a good result from the first leg, why not going on to the quarterfinals? But also in Flensburg they know that history can return from last season when Hamburg, as the defending champion, also was eliminated in the 8th final from the last 16 round. So I believe that Kiel are the favorites, and Flensburg have the underdog role. But you know, they were the underdogs in Cologne. They came there as the underdogs last June, and they first beat Barcelona and then beat Kiel. They have nothing to lose, and the main interest in this northern region in Germany is huge for this match. I saw pictures from Kiel. People queuing at 2:30 in the night in front of the Kiel ticket office to get a ticket for the second leg. The same happened in Flensburg. So the people are really crazy for this duel. But both sides have said we like to face each other, but not in such an early stage of the competition.
Tom, Björn said history can repeat itself, referring to Hamburg and an early elimination for defending champions. Can history also repeat itself in terms of the final result, maybe? And even though it's a two-legged match, Flensburg eventually overcoming Kiel? Tom? Tom has...
Tom's gone.
Tom's gone.
So.
Let's talk about Björn. Let's talk about Weinhold then. Is that a special match for him, or is that?
It's Weinhold. He said he returned already with Kiel to Flensburg. So they had the league match in December, and Flensburg beat Kiel by 4 goals. And he said it's usually when you return to Flensburg, nobody in Flensburg likes any Kiel player. So it's not a big difference if you played for Flensburg before. It makes no big difference. So he said we're absolutely aware of Flensburg because when they got their flow at home with the spectators backing them, we have to be aware. Of course, we have the advantage of having the home match in the second leg. But he says he will enjoy this match at his former club, and yes, he says it will be tough and close to matches.
Okay, so let's hope that Tom will join us again soon. Kevin, how do you see this from looking at it from a French perspective on this German derby? Who's the favorite there for you?
I think on paper, THW Kiel is obviously the favorite, but SG Flensburg has done very well against Kiel in the past couple of seasons, especially at home. I think Kiel hasn't won in Flensburg for like 3 years, or maybe more. So if Flensburg managed to get a 5-6 goals advantage from the first leg, sorry. Maybe they could do something. It's not as obvious as it may seem. Flensburg really has a chance, and if they manage to make their way through injuries, and they've got some players back I've seen for last weekend, so they might not be as down as by injuries as they were a couple of weeks ago. So maybe Flensburg has got something to. They've got their chance, really, I think.
Bence, what's your opinion on this? Arguably one of the biggest clashes in the last 16.
Yeah, I do agree with the guys, but this year, you know, to win the Champions League in the Final Four, you don't have to be the best team of the season. You have to be the best team of those 3 days that you spend in Cologne. And this is what happened to Hamburg. This is what happened to Flensburg. But you know, this is a duel. You know, 2 matches played, and I don't see that this Flensburg, this injury hit team, can cause real problems to Kiel, who are, you know, as usual, they are always one of the main contenders to win the Final Four. But I do agree with the guys. This is sports. These are 2 excellent teams, so anything can happen. But still, I think Kiel is a huge favorite to reach the quarterfinals.
Let's see whether Tom's back with us. Tom, can you hear us?
I can, yeah. Sorry about that. I
But,
have connectivity issues, apparently.
we've just been talking about the German derby, Flensburg.
Oh, I heard everything.
First match of the week, isn't it?
Yeah, it is indeed. And so I'm not going to say anything about who I think might win or anything else, Thomas, because, you know, I have to eat my dinner up there, you know, so I have to be careful about what I say. What I will say is that probably the boys have said this already, but Glandorf is the big miss. You know, I mean, you can replace him with a Latmar and Jakobsen. But the two together don't even add up to what Glandorf offers that team. Plus the fact that with Glandorf they've been playing together for so long. So that's a huge loss. But Björn will know that Kiel went away to Rhein-Neckar, and Rhein-Neckar fought them so hard and eventually beat them. And Landin had a great game in goal, and I think Kiel missed maybe 5 to 7 penalties. I don't know how many penalties they missed, but they kept changing the penalty. Was it 5? Kept changing the penalty taker, and Landin kept saving them. So if Matthias Andersson has a really good game, you never know on the first day. But you would think over the 2 legs in 180 minutes, 180 minutes, 120 minutes, you would think that Kiel probably have enough to see themselves through.
Yeah. When you were referring
Maybe it will even take 180 minutes.
Yeah, even over 180 minutes.
When you were referring to Leuven against Kiel, you're referring to the German Cup game just recently.
No, I did, just because, you know, it's been a couple of weeks since we've seen Flensburg play, and I know Björn mentioned it earlier. They have a few players coming back from injury. You will have to wonder how fit they actually are. I mean, Lasse Andersson was out with a hamstring. They played Gummersbach. They played Gummersbach in the cup and won quite comfortably. But you have to wonder, you know, like they're going to have another couple of league games in the meantime. But the last games that I could watch them actually play was the cup, to see where they were, how they were working at that particular time. Because the Champions League, the last group game seems so long ago now, and it's constantly changing players, injury, and so on and so forth. So that was the last game I saw. And Kiel, to be honest, had a great game against Rhein-Neckar. Their penalties were terrible, and Landin just had one of those games. He probably was trying to. He hasn't been fantastic lately, Landin, but he was probably saying to Guy Lassen, "Look, you're all right to buy me for next season." You know, he had one of those games.
Well, Tom didn't say anything, but Kevin, Björn, Bence, you were, you know, kind of slowly, a tiny bit edging towards a favor for Kiel. Do you see the same happening for Paris in the second derby we'll be seeing next weekend? Is Paris the favorite? Kevin has already given us his insights. Björn, how do you see that?
Okay.
Usually but just looking on the squads, of course, Paris is the favorite. But you saw last season with the budget they have and the budget compared with Dunkirk, it's completely different. So I agree with Kevin that if Dunkirk managed to get I would say 5-goal advance from the first leg, but I really don't expect a sensation like this, because I believe that Paris got settled a little bit more, and for me, I would say in the end it's a clear matter for Paris.
It's an interesting one, Thomas, because I decided to have a look and see how people were doing home and away in the group stages against the other qualifiers, you know. So I only took the top 4, all right, in each group, and this is incredible. Dunkirk against the other 3 teams that qualify from their group have 0 wins at home, and Paris against the other 3 teams from their group that qualified have 0 wins away. So you know, so it's a really
well, that's a draw then, isn't it? In the end.
Yeah, it's a bizarre scenario, and as Kevin said, they're a bit of a bogey team for Paris lately. You know, Paris don't like going to Dunkirk to play. I don't know what it is. You know, Chélisti. They don't like it. They don't like going up there to the north of France, whatever happens up there. But the fact that Dunkirk don't seem to be able to win at home against the big teams, and Paris don't seem to be able to win away to the big teams, anything could happen in that.
I think.
And it is a derby, and once it's a derby, anything can happen.
Can I say a word?
Absolutely, go ahead, straight away.
Yeah, I think one key factor in this double confrontation is whether Vincent Gérard is going to be able to play or not, because he's struggling with his shoulder. He's been struggling with his shoulder for a month now, and he was meant to have an MRI today, and it's not likely he will be able to play on Saturday, at least for the first leg. And I think if he's out, Dunkirk don't stand a chance. You know, as good as Anotel is as a backup goalkeeper, missing Gerard might be a really decisive factor. When you compare to, of course, Thierry Meyer in PSG's goal, I think the difference might be there.
Sorry, Kevin. He was very good against Schaffhausen and Anotel.
Yeah, but you know, he's a bit, you know, he lacks stability. He's not there. He's very inconstant. He's very able to be good, but he's as well being able to, you know, not be good at all. To be honest, and there is no second goalkeeper. He's the only one who can play with the professionals right now, so it can be a real problem.
Bence Paris. He's obviously been a team that, you know, every now and then is tipped to go further than the last 16, to go even further than the quarterfinals, and then maybe eventually reach the Final Four in Cologne. Do you see them being ready for this season, or do you think Dunkirk might be already the last stage, or potential quarterfinal, whomever they will meet?
I think they will beat Dunkirk. But I don't think they're ready for the Final Four. They are only a little bit more convincing than they were last year, and I don't know what the problem is with that team. But just think about what Tom said. You know, they haven't win an away game against the teams that qualified from the group. So this is something that you can go all the way without. So this could be interesting. But the other interesting thing is that French on top of the world again, the best handball in the world again, and the French teams are not as sharp as one would think they would be.
Thomas, can I just say something about Paris away? If you think about it, they lost away to Kiel. No kind of despair really there to lose that. But the other 2 games they lost were away to Naturhaus La Rioja and away to Zagreb. And they were both comfortable victories for the home team in the end. You know, we're talking about a team full of French internationals and so on and so forth. But I don't know what it is, they lack some steel, or else they lack some cohesion, or they lack a plan B when plan A is not going according to plan, going the way it should. The interesting thing about Dunkirk is they have a coach that really has all the players playing for him. And that is the big difference. I mean, you can see this guy. You wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley. He gives you the stare, and it would frighten the life out of you. I mean, I'm telling you, I've seen the players come in. It's like they're called to the office when he calls a timeout. When Philippe Garnon calls a timeout, I'm hearing Narcisse having a word. I'm hearing Mikkel Hansen having a word. I mean, everybody's having a word. And at the end, they all say tous ensemble, all together, but they're not all together. That's my feeling about them, you know.
It's funny because it seems like we said the same thing a year ago. You know, I remember being on this hangout before the last 16 phase last season, and we said exactly the same thing. It seems like nothing has changed. You know.
Yeah. And the one thing that I would be careful, I'd be worried about PSG is they are if they lose the ball, they're very slow to get themselves back.
Sure.
And Dunkirk are a really, really fast counter-attacking team. Really fast. And they're good at it, you know. And I would be worried for Paris that if they lose some balls. But as Kevin said, if Gerard is not playing, and he is a great goalkeeper, they may score all the goals, and Dunkirk won't have that chance to break. But if they do, Paris, they don't seem to bother. They don't seem to make that effort. And you've got to make the effort, Thomas. No matter how good you are, no matter how good the players are, you've got to run for 60 minutes. That's modern handball. And if you're not willing to run for 60 minutes, or you're looking at another guy wondering why he didn't do it and you didn't do it, then you've got no chance.
Sure. Is there anything you wanted to add, Kevin, when the guys were talking about what Paris might be lacking? I just saw you nodding a couple of times.
Yeah, but I did agree with Tom. One thing that I would add is that Dunkirk has often, caused troubles to Paris because they defend very hard. They play they're really on the edge when they defend. They like to put a lot of pressure, and this is something that Paris players don't like. They don't like to face heavy defenses, and if Paris don't score many goals, I think Dunkirk might create a surprise, at least on the first leg. And this is really, I think I talked to some PSG players who told me this is probably the team we like to play against the least, because they defend so hard that it's really hard for Paris it's really tough for Paris to set up an attack and have a real constructed plan. This is just why I agreed with Tom.
Guys, we not only have nation derbies, so to say, we also have a derby of former EHF Cup winners. Last year's winner against the 2013 winner, Zagreb against Rhein-Neckar Löwen. Björn, once again on this game, do you think Löwen were happy when they got Zagreb? Not so happy? What's your opinion on it?
I would say they were happy with Zagreb because it could have been PSG, and they wanted to avoid PSG because of the big names. No, I think they have memories on them. They beat them twice some years ago in the group phase, but they were completely different players. But Rhein-Neckar Löwen at the moment are really confident. We mentioned this cup win against Kiel. They're going to the Final Four, eliminating big THW Kiel. They're equal in points with Kiel in the German league. The only problem they had was losing this home match against Vardar Skopje. They had prepared everything for the final in the last group match, and then they lost. Otherwise, they would have become second and might have got easier opponents. But I would say that Löwen, despite having the home match in the first leg, they are supposed, in my opinion, to be a little bit in the favored role because from the individual class and the team and the coaching, which Nikolai Jakobsen became really good in, it changed. So I would say it's a 60-40 match in favor of Löwen, but of course they know that Zagreb can win on German ground, as they did last year in Berlin in the semi-final of the EHF Cup finals. So they're aware of it, but I think they were not that unlucky when they were drawn against Zagreb.
Bence, what speaks in favor of Zagreb?
I'm sorry, I couldn't catch it.
What speaks in favor of Zagreb?
Well, it's hard to say now. Really, really hard. Well, these are the two teams that I've seen a lot of times this year. And I must say that in favor of Zagreb is that Rhein-Neckar Löwen have something like a roller coaster season. I mean, they were capable of playing almost perfect games. Just think about the one against Veszprém when they, that was just the perfect game. And then a couple of weeks later, they lost against, like Björn said, they lost against Vardar at home, and they weren't even in the match. I mean, they were beaten really, really badly. So, and Tom earlier said something about Landin, that he has one of those days. If he has one of those days, then Zagreb is doomed. But sometimes, against Vardar, Landin was taken off in the 15th minute when they were trailing by 7 or 8 goals or something. So this could be in favor of Zagreb. And also, they have a great coach, but they lack a couple of important players. For example, Nicole Mindegia suffered a very serious injury, so now they have one playmaker, actually half, because Dejan Bombac is, doubtful, I would say. So I agree with Björn, 60-40 to the Germans, but I'm really hoping for Hungarians to go through.
Thomas, just a lot of people are mentioning this game against Vardar, and you can't judge Rhein-Neckar on this game. As a squad, they're quite small. They have an incredible first seven, adding in Guardiola as the defensive specialist, and then of course Kinnear comes on, but he's not so good when beside him. And in the game against Vardar, they had no Björn Murhol, correct, Björn? I think he was injured in the game.
That's true.
And they played Guardiola for on the line, which of course he can do. But in the first minute, Toskic nearly killed him, and the guy had to go off with a shoulder injury, which meant they brought on some young guy who's from, like, I don't know, their youth squad to play on the line. And it's the best axis, in my opinion, in the Champions League at the moment, bar maybe Sohando with Nikola Karabatic, is Andy Schmidt with Bjarte Murhol. And those two together can win any game. And Murhol was back for the game against Rhein-Neckar. I mean, he was only back and he needed to play like the 60 minutes he comes off for defence. So if they're playing, and with Grutsky and Gensheimer on the wing, if Durier finds his sidestep and his shooting arm, and if Pedersen finds a shooting arm, because I think he might have gone off towards the end of that game as well, I see no hope for Szeged. And I love Szeged, and I think that they've done a wonderful job this year, but I can't, over two legs, I cannot see any hope for Szeged in that game at all. I think it's much more 80-20 than 60-40. Sorry, Szeged, I love you, Jonapot, and all of that, but there's nothing you can do in that game. That's if Rhein-Neckar has the full complement. That's my only point that I want to make.
Guys, let's for some minutes move away from like going through it game by game, and let's have a look at, well, arguably the biggest transfer news coming out at the end of last week, eventually confirmed now, that Oliver Stefanvson is back and will most likely be on the court when they play Zagreb.
The Iceman cometh. That's what I'm saying. The Iceman cometh.
That was your first thought?
That was my first thought. I mean, listen, obviously Kif Kolding know what they're doing. I mean, I'm sure they're not just doing it to sell tickets, and they know they need a guy in the right back position. And Oliver Stefanvson and Björn and the boys would know better than I would. I came quite late to seeing this guy play, but when I did see him play, you could see that he was outstanding. And that was in, like, when he was 38, 37, 38. He was getting like old. He was still a superb player. So I can only imagine what he was like when he was like 30, 31. Probably unbelievable. But at 41, do you want, like, if he comes back and he's brilliant, fantastic from Thomas, and I think fair play. But do we want to remember a guy, you know, for a comeback that doesn't work? I mean, if it doesn't work, I don't want to remember him like that. That's the only difficulty I have for him. There's a lot of pressure on him to be the player that he needs to be, and to be the answer to Kif Kolding's problems in the right back position.
As you remember, it's a little bit the same when Rhein-Neckar signed for 2 months, I would say, Jackson Richardson. It was brilliant for ticket sale. In the end, he made 2 or 3 good matches, and he got a farewell match with a lot of applause from the fans.
Yeah, I think that's always the question with these comebacks, you know. Kevin, what do you think? Is he the man who can help Kif Kolding?
I think he can, yeah, and I think he didn't stop playing. You know, he was playing abroad, but he was still playing. It's not like he stopped his career and then he's coming back from doing nothing during like 6 or 9 months. So I think he's still got the rhythm. He's been a great professional throughout his career, and I don't think he would take much time to get back in the rhythm. And you know, he will probably play a couple of minutes. You know, he won't be number one on the right back position. So he's just here to help. You know, he doesn't have much pressure on his shoulder. I think he might be a good addition to Kolding's roster. Yeah.
I think he does have to play. I think Kim Anderson can't play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can't play, but they'll probably play with a right-handed, you know, on the right back position.
Or
not play with Olafur as number one. I guess. I don't know.
I really believe that certain talents just, you know, find it really hard to get old. And if you remember, Carlos, you know, he was 40 when Veszprém won the Cup Winners' Cup. You know, Charlito Perez from Veszprém, and he was, you know, he played like he was 25. I mean, he scored like 12 goals in the 2 games in the final against Rhein-Neckar Leuven. So the same might go to Stefanvson, who used to be my favorite player, and I'm really happy to see him again. And I'm sure that you guys are too.
Definitely.
So is his the effect he might have on calling, is that more psychological than actually physically helping the team, so to say? Tom, what do you say?
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that, Thomas, because I just want to refer back to the World Championships in Qatar. And every time France looked like they were kind of a bit devoid of ideas, they brought on Jérôme Fernandez. Now, of course, we all know Jérôme Fernandez plays regularly in the French First Division, so it's not like he retired and came back. But the guy's 37, 38, but he brought a kind of stability to the team, a bit of patience, and he always seemed to know which ball to play. Now, Oliver Stefanvson is not going to be all guns blazing, fast-breaking, counter-attacking, breaking through and everything like that, you know, but I'm sure he still has the cleverness, the wit to find the pass, to know when the time is there and everything else, and that just might be what they need, because that's another team that has quite a small squad. They've got 2 wingers, but in their back division, Lasse Andersson was out in the game against Barcelona. They really missed him. Bo Spellerberg had to play the entire game. So they're not blessed with a huge back division. So maybe, as Kevin said there, maybe he only plays 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes in the game. But just that knowledge that he brings to the game, knowing when to make the pass and everything else. The problem with Kim Anderson was he couldn't shoot at all towards the end, especially after coming back from Qatar. And it was so obvious that the team didn't have to worry about him unless he was at 6 meters. And so, yeah, maybe it's just that bit of cleverness, that little bit of nous, we say, you know, the experience that he'll really bring to that position.
And just to say a word, Björn compared this comeback to Jackson Richardson's one with Rhein-Neckar Leuven. But I think Olafur Stefanvson already knows the club. You know, he's been there before. It's not a new environment for him. It feels like he's coming back home in some way. So I guess, you know, it will be even quicker for him to settle in. And as Tom said as well, I quite agree with the fact that he might boost confidence with, Kolding's confidence.
Mm.
Yes, but still, if we only talked about Stefanvson, but still I would say about the result of this match, that I would say in this case a 55-45 for Zagreb, with or without Stefanvson.
So you say he doesn't make any difference, so to say, in terms of
the thing is that it will be decided in the first leg. If Zagreb plays at home like they played against Kiel and PSG, then the margin is too big for Kolding to bridge it on home. So I would say Zagreb is making it to the quarterfinal.
I wouldn't agree with that, Thomas. I mean, Zagreb have 3 wins from 3 at home, but if you rewatch the game against Kiel, and this is to take nothing against away from Zagreb, there were some questionable decisions in that game. I think if I was the coach of Kiel going home after that game, I would have had steam coming out of my ears. And if you watch the game they played against Naturhaus Rioja, they were very lucky. Well, they were very lucky to win, because the last goal shouldn't have counted, even though it was one of those things we all love to watch and everything like that. You know, some guy scoring from the halfway line. It shouldn't have counted. But even before that, Zagreb were lucky to get a draw against Naturhaus Rioja. They didn't play well. And I'm sure Vujovic was looking at them at times saying, what on earth is going on here? And they were torn apart on the counterattack by Naturhaus. Now, that's not going to happen against KIF. But what KIF has is a really, really strong defense. And if Kasper Fit and what's his name, Marcus Cleverly, are playing well in goal, I think Zagreb are going to have a tough day against them, because they're I'm not going to say they're old. You're not old, guys. You're very, very, very experienced on that KIF Kolding team.
Yes, but even on this position, I see Zagreb better with Filip Ivic. He's when you saw him in Qatar, he's in a great form. Whole Europe is trying to sign him for the next season, And I would say that Kaspar Witt can be the father of Filip Ivic, of course, maybe he was. But I would say that Filip Ivic might be the decisive factor.
Yeah, but in the last game, Björn against Natcherhaus, not the second last game, he was withdrawn, and Stefanovic, not Stepancic, the other guy, what's his name? Bence, help me out here. Stefanovic?
How should I know? I speak a different language, as different as yours.
All right, where's Handball Planet when you need them? Stefanovic, I think, is his name. He was in goal for most of that game. Ivic was withdrawn. So you can never. I mean, I think he's a great goalkeeper, Filip Ivic. But I have a feeling if Kolding might just make their way through that. You know, I just have a little inkling, Thomas.
Well, we'll see. We'll see next weekend. Tom, you said at the very beginning that Barcelona were probably after the draw kind of fist pumping all the way back to the Palau Blaugrana. However, a tiny bit of stats. Every time in the last years that Barcelona played a Danish team in the knockout stages, they did not win. Eventually.
That's not possible. Did they not win last year against the same team?
Yeah, but they did not win the overall competition.
Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
So last time they did not play a Danish team in the knockout stages in 2011. They actually won. So
okay. That's a great bit of news, Thomas. If you're talking about the Final Four, but we're talking about the last 16. And in the last 16, I think Aalborg will be absolutely delighted. The Gigantium or whatever it's called up there will be stuffed.
Gigantium, yeah.
Will be stuffed to the gills, full of mad Danes, Vikings all, screaming their heads off, hoping their team can do well. And they're a nice team to watch, actually. They had a great game against Zagreb in the last that got them to this round. But I don't think they've got a chance against Barcelona. I mean, I saw Barcelona against GIF Kolding Copenhagen, and my God, they were on top form. And if they're anything even close to that, Aalborg will just be happy that they get 2 games against Barcelona. But that's the end of the road for Aalborg, I think.
Well, maybe we can tick that off very quickly. Do you guys agree with Tom in general about the
100%?
Totally.
Yes.
Bence is Veszprém La Rioja, an equally clear-cut affair from your point of view.
Well, Veszprém caused some surprises this year, and not from the pleasant drawers. So I tend to be a little wary. And I saw a couple of games from La Rioja, especially the one in Zagreb, which was one of the best games of the season, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, maybe it's because of the last goal of the game. But I really believe that this will not go smooth. I mean, those will be... Well, first of all, the game in Spain will be a very even game, a tough encounter, even for Veszprém. And I agree with you. And I think with most of the guys that Veszprém is a favorite to go through, but still, Veszprém are always better later on in the spring. In the first round is never a party for Veszprém. Just think about that last year they lost in Plock, which was followed by a huge public outburst in Veszprém. A lot of people were very angry with the team. And the year before, they lost the last game in Ukraine in the group. So I would say spring is much rather the favorites.
We just caught up, but I think there's still a bit of hibernation maybe going on in Hungary. One more game we haven't talked about.
Thomas, I have a great line. It's even better than your line.
Go ahead.
With a coach named Jesus, a miracle is possible.
Very good.
Thank you very much, people. Have a written down.
Google applause here. Kevin, quickly, the third French team in the mix, Montpellier, going up against the only unbeaten team. The team that has lost the point.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Montpellier have got the slightest chance. Just because it would be quite an opposition of styles. Kielce are very physical, very tough. You know, if you see the backcourt, you've got Lievski, you've got Zorman, you've got Jurecki, you've got Bielecki. People who are just, you know, 2 meters tall and 110 kilos. Very tough defense compared to the smaller players in Montpellier. Dolenech, Simone, Greby is out because of his shoulder injury, and he's probably the main offensive weapon in Montpellier. So I don't think Montpellier stand a chance. You know, Kielce are really they're the only team who didn't lose a game in the group phase, and they've really impressed me when I saw them in Dunkirk. So I don't think Montpellier stand a chance, even though they're great players. I just don't think they will be able to match the physical intensity that Kielce will put in this confrontation.
Björn, last time Kielce scored 10 out of 10 in the group phase, we saw them eventually going to Cologne. Are they good enough this year again to go all the way to the last 4 at least?
Yes, it's just the same. You can see what can happen if they go on to the quarterfinals. So last time they were unbeaten in the group. They had a quite easy group. They had a quite easy last 16 match, and then they faced Skopje in the quarterfinal. In this case, Metalurg, and maybe they go through to the quarterfinal this year, and they can face Skopje again. In this case, Vardar Skopje, and this is the gateway to Cologne, I would say. Yes, you see in the last years when you don't take in consideration Hamburg last year, when you become the winner of the group, the way to Cologne is quite paved already, because mainly the last 16 is okay, but then you have also the home right in the second leg of a quarterfinal, and you face a team which was third or second, and so in my opinion, really the 4 group winners are the big favorites in all the last 16 matches, including West Brom and Kielce. Kielce even more.
Sorry, yeah. Thomas. I agree with Kevin. I don't think Montpellier have a chance in this game. They have no defense, and that's indefensible. You know, in modern day handball, pretty in attack, some great players, but absolutely no defense. However, we can't judge this Kielce team. They were in the worst group I've ever seen in the group phase of the Champions League. How can you judge a team that in the last game against Motor Zaporozhye, with Motor Zaporozhye having to win to go through, they play Čupić in the middle, they play Jachlewski, who's a winger, on the line, and they come back from 9 goals down with half a team? I mean, does that not tell people something? We can't judge Kielce. And we also won't be able to judge them even after this game against Montpellier, because their group was too easy. So we won't be able to judge how good Kielce are until they come up against a battle-hardened, strong team, and then we'll be able to judge them. We can't. It's not possible to judge them at the moment. I mean, Ivan Čupić in the middle, and Jachlewski on the line. I mean, hello, my lads in Ireland would beat that team. No, I'm kidding. But I mean, it's true. And to come from 9 goals down, playing with a winger in the middle and a winger on the line, I mean, that just tells you how bad that group actually was. So,
sounds about we should bring on a true contestant here for Kielce. It's about time, after 2/3 of the competition have been played almost. One game I think we haven't mentioned. I'm just going to go over that briefly. Plock against Vardar, guys. Just hands up. Ooh. Okay. It's a tricky one for you, Tom. So managed to make it an easy question. Go ahead.
I'll tell you, they beat Barcelona in Plock. They beat Flensburg. All right, it was only a half a Flensburg team. In fact, it was a quarter of a Flensburg team, but it doesn't matter. They lost by 1 goal to KIF Kold in Copenhagen and probably should have won that game, and drew away to KIF. This Plock team never knows when they're beaten, right? And everyone's talking up Vardar, saying how great they are and everything else. I'll go again to the fact that Vardar have 1 win, 1 draw, and 1 loss away from home. And the win they had was against the Rhein-Neckar Leuven team that was non-existent on the day because of the personnel they'd lost, right? So they go to Plock. I'm telling you now, Thomas. I'm telling you now. Watch this space. Plock is going to beat Vardar, by 4 to 5 goals.
No. There's Sterby, and there's one of the best defenses in the competition also.
Thomas, read my lips. The Rhein Bence market from Hungary.
Okay, Tom, let's beat them at home by 4 or 5 goals, and then Vardar wins the second leg by 7.
Yeah, true.
Listen, that may happen. Read my lips, Thomas. Plotsk at home are almost unbeatable.
Okay. All right, guys, can we do that a little, just lifting up your hands? Who's in favor of Plotsk eventually going through? I'm not talking about first leg, second leg's results. Plotsk in the quarterfinal. Plotsk in the quarterfinal. 1 for Plotsk. Vardar in the quarterfinal. 1, 2. Kevin? 3.
I was asleep.
Well, it's time to wake up now, guys. Fantastic hangout so far. Thank you very much. You all given a task this afternoon by my dear colleague Chris. It's handball manager time again.
Sorry, I'm just getting me notes.
The discussions have been fierce. Well, for all you following this hangout here, we've given them 2 players to choose each. Bence was the lucky one because obviously we only could choose 7 overall. He got away with the goalkeeper, only had to choose 1. We split the 50 million they had equally. Even though that led to even fiercer discussions. But anyway, so Bence, you had 8 million to spend on a goalkeeper. Which goalkeeper did you go for?
Well, actually, Tom put a gun to my head not to spend the entire amount of money.
Yeah.
So I chose Arpad Sterbik and Angelov for 4.5 million from Vardar.
Okay, so we got the Vardar goalkeeper to 4.5. We had very fierce, almost reproaches kind of coming from Ireland. So Tom, I give you these 3.5 million spontaneously, so you'd have 17.5 to.
No, don't do it.
To spend.
Yeah. Okay.
And we'll leave you until the very end.
I'll tell you who I'm going to buy then. I originally bought. I just realized. I realized that I've just tipped Plotsk to beat Vardar, didn't I? But
yes,
I bought,
yes, you did.
I bought 2 Vardar players for our team, and if they're going to get knocked out in the next round, we're in big trouble. So I might check. I originally bought Igor Karacic and Shishkarev, but I'm now going to change my mind.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy Uretsky for 7 million and Britsky for 7.5 million.
So who is the second one?
Britsky, from Rhein-Neckar.
Yeah.
So Uretsky 7 million Kielce.
Yeah.
Britsky 7.5 million from. So I spent 14.5 million, boys. Sorry.
That's cool. Okay. Kevin, whom did you choose? You had also 1 backward player, 1 wing.
So for the winger, I chose Manuel Stalek from Vivet Kielce, and I think its price was like 5.5 million, which is a bargain if you ask me. But you know,
it is a bargain.
For the backcourt player, I chose Alex Jibayev for 8 million.
What?
Why not?
It's okay.
Fantastic.
Okay. We're all coaches here together. We're all on the one team. Let's not do a Paris on it. We're all on the one team.
What did you suggest?
No, I'm only joking. That he's fine. Except that he's going to be gone on the last 8, but there you go.
You.
So.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I think we don't have a real striker now because everybody was only looking at the money, and so we have no Karabatic, no Mikl Hansen, no Lazarov. Okay, I had to choose a line player, and I choose for the good price of 7.5 million Julenagi Nagalde, and also Alex Dushabayev was on my list. But okay, then we take another left-handed for the right back position because it was a really good price. I spent $500,000 more than I was supposed to, but we have Laszlo Nudge also for the backcourt.
Okay.
Okay, wait a minute, Thomas. Before Björn buys Laszlo Nudge, how much money had we left after buying all those other players?
We had 4.5. It was Dushabayev was 8 million, Kevin, didn't you?
Yeah.
And the first one, Kevin, you said was 5.5, wasn't it?
Starlick 5.5, yeah.
5.1. That's 13.5. That's 3.5 left. That's 3 million left. That's 1.5 million left. How expensive were those? You have about 4.5 million left or so, I think.
Okay,
Yeah.
then I would.
On top of Nudge, how much did Nudge, Bjorn?
Yeah,
We skipped much, exactly. Knowing that we still have some more money, I would just go on this list. And how much? So I have 7 plus 3.5, you said, Thomas?
Well, you all in all spend about 46 million, if I quickly counted that. So
then go away with this notch. Then we have 11 million.
You have 11 million, Bjorn.
So, and exactly this is, for charity reason, we give 1 million to charity group, and we buy for 10 million Karabatic.
Okay.
And make him the captain. Oh, well, who's going to score the most goals?
Agin Nagalde.
Should we make him captain?
No, Karabatic must be the captain after this season.
I think with 4 more millions, you should have skipped Siskarev and bought Gajic for 10 million.
I didn't buy Siskarev in the end. I bought Gretzky.
Oh, okay. So I didn't say anything. Sorry.
We need a good defender anyway.
Well, guys, what I can say, the team's been entered by Chris. You know, you're one of the 2,500 teams that have already entered the competition. The bar is you were among the best 20% last time. So, and obviously, come the next Hangout, you might be able to make changes. Or you can just take a look, guys, and say, oh, our predictions have been so good. Well, we keep the fans in the loop. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you. It's a brilliant Hangout. And see you again soon. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.